We are going on a journey together today, a journey that I started over a year ago with only one of these books on my TBR, and you can see where we landed in the end. This is all of the Dungeon Crawler Call books by Matt Dinniman that are out at this point. 8 books in total, and some of them are super chunky. It was one of the most fun series that I've read during this time, and I had a great time with these books. And I don't want to let you wait any longer until this video really starts. So let's go back in time and see you there. I am halfway through Dungeon Crawler Call by Matt Dinniman, the first book in the Dungeon Crawler Call series. And what a way to open a video, because when I started this book I wasn't sure if it will be a separate video for the whole series or if I integrate this in the final chapter challenge videos. But as I said, halfway through, and I can already tell that this will be a highlight of 2025 for me. Not only this book, but the whole series. I've seen this book all over BookTube. Every person I follow on BookTube read this book, and now I joined the club and I'm loving this book. Dungeon Crawler Call is a lit RPG. I didn't know about this genre before I saw the videos about this book, but it is basically a video game in book form. So our main character Carl is also the main character of this video game and participates in this dungeon challenge. So we follow him on his adventure, and the only book in this subgenre that I've read so far is Ready Player One, and I really loved that, so I could anticipate that I will love this book too, which I do so far. I've read the first part now, and it is super entertaining. I love the humor in the story. I love that we are diving right into the story where the whole world collapses and just a few million people on the whole world are able to survive this crash because they were outside when all the buildings collapsed. And they get now the chance to join this game show, or in other words, an 18-level dungeon, which basically means the aliens took over Earth and want to mine the planet. And the only chance for humanity and the planet to survive this, that one human wins this whole dungeon, so can win level 18 of the dungeon. And Carl is one of the people now joining the dungeon on level 1. The first 3 levels are tutorial levels, where we learn all the stuff about the game that Carl and all the other participants needs to know. And Carl doesn't join the dungeon alone. He joins with Princess Donut, the cat of his ex-girlfriend. And we learn quite quickly that Princess Donut also participates and is a player. And they really need to get through a tutorial to get access to important parts of the game, like their own menu. And they get a lot of achievements, some important achievements, some are really ridiculous, but I'm loving it. As I said, super entertaining, but you can also see all the criticism on this game, on the whole dungeon system and the aliens that want to mine this planet. There are some really sad parts where people have to die, ridiculous parts that made me laugh, and I can't wait to read more of this book. As I said, I'm now halfway through the book. I finished part 1 and am ready to enter level 2. So let's see what comes next, and I can say I've already ordered book 2 today, so I can continue the series next month. I finished Dungeon Crawler Carl and can say this is a solid 4-star read for me. Not a 5-star because I had some minor complaints, but all in all, this story was super entertaining. As I said before, I like the dry humor. I liked the ridiculous achievement that Carl gets throughout this tutorial. I really like Princess Donut. She behaves like a true princess and she's such a cool companion to Carl. I really like them as a team, and even the addition to the team in the end of book 1. The action scenes are really well written. They are all a little bit different, which I appreciate, but this was also one of my minor complaints because there were so much fight scenes, which is normal in a video game because you need to do a lot of grinding. You need to gain experience to level up, to get better, and of course you fight a lot of NPCs in the game and a lot of bosses. We have that in Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I know we will definitely get more of that in the upcoming books in the series. I hope the scenes are not too similar and we get variety here, but all in all, I'm really curious how the story will continue in book 2, which I have already here. Carl's Doomsday scenario will be the next book of this vlog, but let's get back to Dungeon Crawler Carl for now. I really like the whole criticism on our society, on the whole system of this whole dungeon and the whole company and political system behind the dungeon. That was really intriguing. We just get glimpses of that for now, and I want to learn more about that. And hopefully we get that in the later books. I'm a tiny bit sad that there are already 7 books out in the series. Matt Dinniman is currently writing book 8, and I think there should be 10 or 11 books in the end. But with 7 books already out in the series, we already know that Carl will survive a long time, which subtracts a little bit from the tension, because I don't think Matt Dinniman does a George R.R. Martin move and will kill the main character after introducing another POV or something like that. This would be interesting as a concept, but I don't think this will happen. We will see. There were teasers for the different levels that will be coming, and I'm really interested to see that. That's what I wanted to say about book 1 in the series, and we will see each other again in the next month in August when I read book 2. New month, new Dungeon Crawler Call book. I am now reading book 2, Carl's Doomsday scenario. So the adventure continues now on floor 3 of this dungeon. Floor 3 out of 18. And nobody ever reached floor 14, I think, or 15. So nobody ever completed this dungeon. We have now finished the whole tutorial on floor 1 and 2, and the participants or crawlers can now pick their races and classes, which was super exciting. I loved to make this experience with Princess Donut, the speaking cat and companion of Carl, and with Carl itself. It was super interesting. We had already some plot twists, and with Mongo, our party also has a pet, a pretty dangerous and exciting pet because he's a dinosaur. So there is a lot going on, especially with Mordecai now as manager of Princess Donut. This changes a lot of rules for him and the group, and also a lot of the scenario around them changed now with floor 3. So we have a lot more variety in book 2 now. I am halfway through the book right now and I can't wait to continue today. As with the book before, I'm reading the hardback and also listen to the audiobook because the audiobook versions of this series are so good that I don't want to miss out, but I can concentrate more if I can read the text. So I'm doing the tandem read and do both. And as I said, we have a lot of variety in this book. We have action scenes as expected, and also scenes where we expect an action scene and a fight, but the situation turns out a lot differently. So you never know what's coming. And Carl is really as smart as here with his decisions and directing the story that is told in the book or in the whole dungeon. So it is still super entertaining and I can't wait to continue. Which, as I said, I will do today, and I will talk to you when I finish the book because this book isn't very long. It is the shortest book in the series, only 350 pages. So we will see each other again in a few seconds. And I finished Carl's Doomsday scenario now, and I can say that I liked book 2 better than book 1 because we had way more variety now in book 2. At least it felt like more variety, especially with the whole storyline on the floor and the whole medieval village setting, and especially the quest thing that is happening on floor 3. We are now not only grinding and gaining experience, Carl and Donut are also now on adventures to fulfill these quests, to reveal some secrets, to reveal more of the story behind the dungeon. And we are getting some really good plot twists here in the book. I really appreciate that because I never know what's happening next in these books. And that's from someone who writes herself and knows how plots work. So most of the time I can figure out plot twists way before they come in the story because of the hints that are given, but not with this series, and I'm so excited about that. There was a lot going on in the second half of the book, and I need to admit there were some scenes with some info dropping where I zoned out a bit, especially with the amount of background story to floor 3. But nonetheless, I liked that we had this in this book, and I liked that we also had a part that plays outside of the dungeon and integrates political behavior, political decisions, questionable behavior by our main characters. And as book one, this was super intriguing, super entertaining, and I can't wait to read more, which I will do next month in September. I've already ordered book 3 in hardcover version, and if you don't know at this point, if you're reading the ebook or listening to the audiobook, which is, by the way, chef's kiss as always, the traditional published hardcover versions all have an exclusive bonus chapter in the end, and these bonus chapters are a whole novella about some NPCs and side characters in this series. So we get one chapter of this novella in every book. And I think this novella adds so much to the story. I really love this side plot that we have there, and it definitely helps to get another perspective of this world, of the dungeon, because the novella plays backstage. I won't tell you more about it, you need to read it on your own, but I can recommend the novella Backstage at the Pineapple Cabaret. And I also joined now Matt Dinniman's Patreon. So maybe you didn't know that he has that, but he works now on book 8 of this series, and you can read the chapters he already wrote on his Patreon, which I, of course, don't do at this point because I haven't read all the books until then. But I wanted to support Matt Dinniman because he writes fantastic books, and maybe you want to join too. I don't know. You don't need to. I just wanted to tell you about it in case you didn't know about his Patreon. And with that, we will see each other again with book 3. It is September now, which means it is time to read the next Dungeon Crawler Call book. I am now at book 3, which is the Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook, and I am halfway through the book, so I can tell you now a little bit about it. We are now at floor 4 of the dungeon, which is train-based. So a complete underground train system with stations, with trains riding different tracks, different routes, and they need to figure out a way to find the stairs on this floor. The whole system of this floor is a little bit confusing, but that is intended. Matt Dinniman wrote in the beginning of the book to not worry about the whole station numbers and keeping track of the routes, because we will get a map in the end before we get to the finale of the book. So we get the map when it's getting important. Before that, just go with the flow, and I'm doing that. But nonetheless, this is the weakest book of the series for me so far, because I'm missing a bit the thrill of the first 2 books and get the feeling that it gets a little bit too easy for Carl and Donut and Katja to fight their opponents, to find a way out of difficult situations. And I hope there will be a little more tension now in the second half of the Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook. Nonetheless, I really like the idea of the Anarchist's Cookbook, and can't wait to explore that more. Maybe not on this floor, but hopefully on the next floors. I hope it can be really helpful there. And I also hope we get Mordecai back. I'm missing him a bit now, and I know he gives really helpful advices to our party. But even without him, Carl, Donut, and Katja are doing a good job on this floor. And I will continue reading now and will get back to you after I finished the book. I have finished now the Dungeon Anarchist's cookbook and can say this is the book so far that I liked the least in the series. As I said in my first updates, I had problems understanding the whole setup, and the descriptions were really lacking in some scenes, not only of the setup, so the whole floor descriptions, but also in some scenes where Carl and his group are planning something, where he builds traps and all these little details. So I had no choice to just vibe with it, and it didn't get better throughout the story because when you lose track of something, it is hard to get back on track. And this was the case here. There were two scenes that I really loved in this book, which is not that much with a book over 500 pages. But these two scenes were perfect. They had plot twists, they had a lot of action, they had emotional depth, they had betrayal and secrets, and I loved everything about it. And I'm really glad that we have Mordecai back now. But of course, we had also some losses. This is a dungeon, and there are people that are dying in this dungeon. So, also people close to our group that we are following here. And we also had some hints for the next floor of this dungeon, and I'm really intrigued by that. I have high hopes that the next book will be better again and that it is easier to follow the descriptions, the scenes, the fights. We will see about that. Me and my Buddy Read girls will continue the series in October, but you will see me again in a few seconds. We have October now, which means it is time for a new Dungeon Crawler Carl book. And I finished the first half of The Gate of the Feral Gods. And oh my god, there is so much going on in this book. It feels so fast paced, way faster than the books before. But I'm here for it. I'm really intrigued by this whole plot. I don't really get everything that is going on when they are fighting, but that is okay. Carl always has a plan, and I appreciate that. He is a super smart guy. I don't know why his intelligence stats aren't higher, but I really love following him and his team. So, Princess Donut, Mongo, and Katja throughout this adventure, and level 5 now. The build up of this floor was super easy to get, which was relieving after the fourth floor was a nightmare to understand and was just overwhelming. So I really like that this was easy to get, easy to understand, and we can concentrate on the characters and the plot. As the books before, this is super entertaining, super easy to read, and I really like the mix of dry humor, of smart behavior, of social criticism, and especially the plot twists that are already twisting again. I'm so here for it, especially the whole plot twist around Chris. Oh my god, I would have never guessed that, and it was brilliant. I can't wait to see how this plotline will be continued. But for that, we have to survive level 5 of this dungeon, and we are halfway there. So fingers are still crossed, but I think they will do it because there are more books in the series. That gives me enough trust that they will accomplish this mission, that they will get to the next floor. And as always with these books, I can't wait to continue. I will do that, and I will talk to you after I finished The Gate of the Fairy Gods. I have finished The Gate of the Fairy Gods, and I really liked this book. Not as much as book 2, but still really liked it. There was a lot going on in book 4 now. So much that I've probably forgotten half of the info dumpy parts about gods and goddesses and all the other parts that were important here. But that's okay. I'm just here for the vibes, for the story of Carl and Princess Donut. And Katja, also part of this team, made such a big character development since book 2. I loved it. She is so badass and confident right now. And I'm really intrigued what will happen next because there is so much potential, especially after this epilogue. I mean, hello, what will come up next? I can't wait to read it, but I need to wait because I'm reading the next book in the series in November with my Buddy Read Girls. But so far, I'm really, really happy with the story, with the characters, with the character development, with the plot twists in the series that are surprising me again and again. And I'm super curious what will happen with Chris now after everything that happened in the end of The Gate of the Fairy Gods. And I want to see what will happen on the next floor and some of the other floors that are coming up because Carl created some chaos here, a big chaos. And I want to see if this will have consequences. What will happen on floor 6 now? And we will see each other again in November. Long time no see on my end, and you can probably hear it. I'm sick, I have a cold, but I still wanted to update you because I am now 2/3 into The Butcher's Masquerade, the 5th book in the Dungeon Crawler Car series by Matt Dinniman, and I'm really enjoying this one. I have a feeling that I enjoy the floors more that have a storyline. So I really loved floor 3, so book 2, and I'm really liking now the 5th book, which is floor 6 now. Like always, there is a lot of action, a lot of drama, and I really enjoy my time with Carl and Princess Donut. It is always entertainment, and I can't wait to continue later today. But before I do that, let's talk a little bit more about the Butcher's Masquerade. Floor 6 is now a floor where real persons from the universe are on the floor called hunters. They are there to play the game and hunt the crawlers and kill them. It is fun for them, not fun for the crawlers. And Carl's mission is to kill as many hunters as possible to show not only the makers of this dungeon but also the viewers that this is no game, that there are real people involved, and that what they do there with this dungeon show is not okay. I'm a really big fan of that, even if This has some sad moments because I don't enjoy when people get killed, but I see that Carl has no other choice and that it is necessary in this scenario. I also enjoyed the CrawlCon. I don't want to speak too much of it because I don't want to spoil you. And I'm really laughing about Mongo's part of the storyline here. As I said, is super entertaining and I can't wait to continue. So I will end this clip now before my nose is running again and I need to cough. So I see you in a bit when I finished the book. I did it! I finished book 5 of the Dungeon Crawler Car series, and I really enjoyed the events of the Butch's Masquerade, especially the event itself. The stakes were high, I really liked the finale, and as always, it was super entertaining, it was funny, it was deep. It really has all it needs for a good novel. And I think book 5 is now my second favorite of the whole series so far because this floor was story based and I really prefer these floors where we follow a storyline throughout the book, where all the side characters are fitting in the storyline and we are following some quests throughout the story. The ending of The Butcher's Masquerade was really surprising. I'm talking here about the epilogue, and I can't wait to see the consequences of this epilogue because I think the AI will be super angry about this decision and will make some trouble on the next floor. We will see about that in my next update because I'm starting book 6 right away. I can't reach it right now, but it is The Eye of the Bedlam Bride. And I think it will mix some things up. So let's continue reading, and I will talk to you in my next update. I'm back now. It is the last day of January 2026. I am halfway through book 6 now, The Eye of the Bedlam Bride. And as always, I enjoy my time with the story, with the characters. I enjoy the humor. But I realized something now. And that is that I enjoyed especially book 1 and 2 the most. And after that, the whole world building got a little bit too much for me, which is okay. I'm just going with the vibes here and still enjoy the whole story, but I'm focusing on the present, what happens in the moment, and I don't think much about what can happen next, what we had before, and how all of this is connected because I can't remember everything. It is so much. In almost every single chapter, we have new information that's adding to the world building, like new stuff for the characters, new powers, new enemies, new information about the world outside of the dungeon. There is so much. I'm totally overwhelmed by it. But as I said, I'm still enjoying the book. I'm reading this now a bit slower than the books before, mostly because I'm waiting for my buddy read girls to start book 6. The only other person of my buddy read group is Julia. She has already started the book. Nikki is still reading book 5. She needs to catch up. And Michelle and Rebecca still need to start book 6, which is completely okay. We are all reading when we can, and we decided to take a break for February so everybody can catch up. Nobody needs to stress about it. And we can read book 6 in our own time because after that, at this moment, we only have book 7. And then we still have to wait for book 8, which is published in May. So why stressing about it? We can still read book 7, This Inevitable Ruin, in March, in April, and can then read book 8. So it's all okay how it is. And I loved that in this book we explored more of the Desperado Club, that we had a bigger focus on the gods and goddesses now, and we have a whole new system for this floor here, which is card based. So, these games like Pokemon and whatever else there is on trading card games. I'm not that much into these games, as you can probably guess, but we have a similar system here. So our characters need to gather cards, need to gather monster, and then they need to fight with these monsters against other crawlers. I really love that we are exploring different genres of games here on the different floors. And I can't wait to see what happens next, because there was a lot going on now in the Desperado Club. We had a lot of action there, a lot of kills, and also some tragic moments focused on mostly Katja, but also Carl, and of course a lot of NPCs. We have new members for Carl and Donut's group now. So let's see what will happen in the rest of the book, and I will talk to you after I finished it. And here I am with the final update of The Eye of the Bedlam Bride. I finished this book today. I read most of the second half yesterday, read the bonus chapter today early in the morning, and all in all, it is a 4-star read for me. I still enjoyed book 2 the most, but this book was an emotional roller coaster, mostly in the second half of the story, because there was so much happening. But we also had some calm and very emotional moments that I really appreciated. First and foremost, chapter 45, and the award for the chapter with the most tension in the whole series, with the highest stakes, goes to chapter 71, I think. Yes, 71. I looked it up. That was the craziest chapter ever, and I loved everything about it. As I also loved the setup for the next book in the epilogue. I'm so intrigued to read about the faction wars and see how everything turns out. A lot of parts were overwhelming to me here, because we have a lot of input here, a lot of informations, cross references to books before, and I can't remember everything. So I'm really glad that I'm doing a buddy read for this series, that we can discuss the story, that I can ask questions, because as my buddy read partner Julia said, this series needs more than one brain to be understood. So the only thing I can say at this point is that I will see you again for book 7, This Inevitable Ruin. But in real life, I will take a break here and read Operation Bounce House first by Matt Dinniman. This book came out yesterday, and it arrived yesterday, but I won't read it for this vlog. So I will take a break now from Dungeon Crawler Carl, and you see me again in a few seconds with book 7. It is mid-April now, and I am halfway through The Inevitable Ruin, book 7 of the series. So the only book at this point that I still need to read until next month when book 8 comes out. So perfect timing for me and my buddy read girls to read book 7 now. And I am halfway through the book and want to continue reading today. I want to read at least 3 chapters per day to finish this month, plus the chapters in other POVs that we have here. And so far, I'm not the biggest fan of book 7. And if I'm a little bit more honest, this could be my least favorite of the series. After the whole train floor, I forget which book that was. But if you read the series, you know which book I mean. I had high hopes for this book with the whole faction wars. I wanted to read a lot of planning, a lot of intrigues and secret missions. But what we have here is a lot of fighting, a lot of death, and that shouldn't be surprising, and it isn't because it is faction wars. So we are in war here. Everybody against Carl, Donut, and the other crawlers, and the NPCs. But I personally don't enjoy reading endless battle scenes, reading about people dying in masses, and seeing this very reckless side of Carl and Donut, especially Carl. I'm a bit concerned by it, by the decisions he made so far. But as always, Donut brings a little bit of lightness in it. We had a few surprises so far, a few plot twists. And even if this could be my least favorite of the series, I still enjoy reading the series, discussing it with my buddy read girls, because honestly, I don't remember much of the informations from the books before. I'm just vibing with the moment here because there are so much information about the magic, the world building. I've told you that before and I can't remember all of that. My brain just closed the gates for new informations, and I'm very glad I have my buddy read girls to remember these things and writing about it in the comments, because I don't get all these hints that we have from former books to things that got revealed now. I'm completely lost here, but I still want to continue the series, to finish the series. And Matt Dinniman revealed in an interview a few days ago that we will have 10 books in the series, but honestly, more 9 books, because book 9 is split in 2 books. So we will have a big cliffhanger in the middle, and we will see all 18 floors of the dungeon, which is super exciting. He said we will see how this all will function and will be logic when we read book 8 of the series, which I will definitely start next month. But before that, of course, I want to read the second half of this book. So I will continue reading now and I will talk to you after I finished the book. Unbelievable, but I did it. I am on track with the Dungeon Crawler cast series now. After I finished book 7, just for 2 weeks until book 8 comes out, but that's okay. I'm happy that I finished the series before book 8 comes out. And I told you a lot of times before, at this point, I'm just vibing with the story. I don't try to understand the greater meaning behind some details, try to figure out connections to things that happened before. All of that goes over my head, and that's okay. I have still a great time with the story. And for this book, I didn't like the whole war scenes. We had a lot of them in this book because we are in faction wars. That is the topic of this floor. So it makes sense that there is a lot of war, a lot of battle scenes, a lot of action and mass killings. But my favorite chapters were in between that, the chapters out of this war scenario where they planned, where they had interviews and needed to discuss things with the other factions or with the people that managed everything for the faction wars. I liked these chapters way more, got way more invested in that. And what I can also say is that I am concerned with Carl's character development that we have here. He makes some pretty questionable choices during the faction wars. Choices that he wouldn't have made in the first books in the series because it is against his morals. I mean, I also understand why he had to make these choices, but I don't like the direction we are going here. And I'm very, very glad that we have characters like Princess Donut who calls him out on that, which is why I love the dynamic between Donut and Carl. And as always, Matt Dinniman writes very, very good and intriguing endings with mean cliffhangers. So I can't wait now to continue with book 8 with a parade of horribles. I'm glad that I don't have to wait too long. And I can't wait to see in which direction we will go there. We have the topic of the next floor already explained here. It will be race based. And I don't mean like race in racism, I mean like in racing. So, another categories of video games unlocked here, which I love, and I can't wait to see how it all turns out, especially after what Matt Dinniman said in an interview for book 8, that we will see then how we will meet all floors of this dungeon in the next two books. So, in book 9 and 10, I am very intrigued by that information. And even if I have a break now for 2 weeks, you can continue right away with this video, and we will see each other again in a few seconds. I started A Parade of Horribles, the final book of the Dungeon Crawler Car series, or at least the final book for now. There will be 10 books, but I have to wait for the last 2 books. I'm just glad that I can read book 8 now, and I am halfway through the story now. And I think that this floor is way easier to understand than the whole faction wars before. We have all the crawlers separated into teams and heats. So each heat has 8 teams in the beginning, and these teams race against each other. First place of the race will win additional upgrades, and the last place will be killed. So the stakes are high as always, and there will be 7 races, so each heat has a winner in the end. if there are more teams eliminated during a race, they will mix heats together. So in the end, sadly, we will have way less crawlers than in the beginning of the floor. The AI wants to get the number down because at this point there are way more crawlers still on the floor than the whole system expected, and they want to change that. So, as I said, the whole setup is way easier to understand. Every race is a little bit different, different length, different mobs and bosses to kill. So it doesn't get boring, that's for sure. And I still like to follow Carl and Donut during this adventure. But I'm very concerned for their mental health at this point. They are super traumatized, super stressed, and I get why. So I just hope it doesn't get too extreme and it will take them out of this whole race or more the whole dungeon because the system needs them. We want to shut these dungeon crawls down, and that is not that easy. I'm glad that we get a little bit more into the Lucia Ma plot because that will also be a big relief if we can free Lucia from this dungeon crawl. So I am still now in the middle of the races, halfway through the book. The last race I read was super crazy. It was a race where they need to race down a water slide. And I won't say much more than that at this point, except that there were a lot of disgusting things in the end. I really hope we are done now with this part. And I can't wait to continue reading. Can't wait to see what the second half brings us. My prediction is that we will see more than this one floor now in the book because we already had teasers for the next floor and it is called A Parade of Horribles. So it only makes sense to me that we also see the next floor in this book, and I'm really intrigued to see how book 8 will end because Matt Dinniman also told in an interview, I think I've said that before, that the ending of book 8 will explain how and why we see all floors of the dungeon. So I will continue reading now and I will update you one last time after I finished the book. First update out of 4 to film today, and the one update I want to film for this video because I finished A Parade of Horribles. I finished the Dungeon Crawler Car series now at this point, but the series is not over. I just caught up. There are still 2 more books to come, and Matt Dinniman started writing book 9. So there is still a lot to go, still a lot to happen. And my friends and I discussed a lot of the ending of book 8. We have so many theories, and we still try to figure out who Samantha really is. But we are not sure if we have all the information to figure out who she is. We have a lot of theories, but there is so much going on. We have so many informations over 8 books, and we didn't really make enough notes to remember everything. So it is hard to figure out these little secrets. We probably would need a whole family tree for the gods to figure out that, but we don't have that, and so we need to wait until Matt Dinniman tells us who Samantha really is. But besides that, I really liked A Parade of Horribles. I think it is my third favorite book of the whole series. For once, because it is more easy to understand the whole concept of the floor, and for that, follow the plot. I had problems with that through book 3 to 7, and I zoned out a lot during the chapters there when it got more complicated. I had that only 2 or 3 times in a Parade of Horribles, so I am okay with that. I think we made progress here, and I think the shorter chapters helped a lot for that. And story-wise, we made a lot of progress here. We finished floor 11 by now, so there are still 7 more floors left. And these are floors that were never entered by crawlers before. We already had that for floor 11, a Parade of Horribles. So everything now is new, not only for the crawlers, but also for everyone out there who's watching. We have very, very few crawlers left. It is super heartbreaking. I think we ended with 19 crawlers. I won't tell you if everyone of our friendship group have survived, because I don't want to spoil that. But I can say we have characters left. We will follow them into the next book whenever this will be out. And I think now in book 8, Carl and Donut had to make some very difficult decisions, had to end some lives of NPCs and crawlers to stay alive themselves. It is super heartbreaking. I hate that they need to do that, but at some point they had no other choice. And Carl and Donut did their best to keep as many crawlers and NPCs alive as possible. And as always, Carl had some crazy plans going on, which led to a lot of plot twists that I didn't see coming, but I loved each and every single one of them, especially the last big plot twist on floor 11, the grand finale here. So I am very happy with that, even if we needed to say goodbye to some of our loved ones here. And I can't wait to see how the story will continue in book 9, not only for the crawlers in the dungeon, but also for the people outside of the dungeon, because we got some informations on the Scolopendra, on the apothecary, on the central AI. I forgot the name at the moment, but it changed a lot. And as I said, I can't wait to see how all of this will continue. I need to wait for that now until book 9 will be published. I mean, I could read the chapters on Patreon because Matt Dinniman posts everything there, but I want to read the fully edited and final version, so I will probably wait until book 9 will be out to continue. But in the meantime, I have a bonus book here for this video, and that is the Dungeon Crawler Carl Volume 1 graphic novel. I have also read that by now. It is not that long and covers just a bit of book 1. I don't know if half of book 1, but something around that. And I really, really like this book. Let me show it a bit to you. So it ends with them probably betraying the goblins after they've told them that the llamas have the drugs. So that's for orientation here. I really like the art style of the graphic novel. I will 100% continue with the graphic novels. And I can continue right now, not in physical format. Volume 2 will be published in October, I think. But the whole graphic novel is accessible over Webtoon. So you can read it there, and there are a lot further into the story on Webtoon. I think they are in the middle of book 2 there. So I will continue at some point to read that. But that's it for now for this video. I've read now all 8 books of the Dungeon Crawler Car series, plus the graphic novel that is out. And we also will get a spin-off graphic novel where we follow Florin. So we need to stay tuned for that. It won't be published until next year. So let me grab all the books that I've read for this vlog. 1 second. Here we go. All 8 books of Dungeon Crawler Carl plus the graphic novels. I'm very, very happy that I've read the series, that I will continue the series, and that I had my buddy read partners to discuss this whole story. I loved everything about it, even if it went over my head a lot of times, but it was still super entertaining, and I'm really attached to the characters by now. So please tell me in the comments if you feel the same about Carl and Donut and all the other characters of the series. Like this video if you wanna, follow my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!